Let me do that. All right, you guys, welcome. Today we are talking about manifesting and some actual specific techniques you can start using. We'll go over it today. So grab a pencil and paper. We'll do a little exercise a little later. But first of all, my name is Betsy Jensen, if you don't know me. And usually I talk about a lot of body and mind stuff. But manifesting has really been a huge part of my life during my whole health journey. So it's a part that I was a little scared to talk about at first, honestly, because I tried to stay really scientific. And then the more that I saw how closely related it is to the nervous system, and it's just kind of interchangeable language to me at this point. When I talk about energy and emotions, like that used to sound so weird to me. So I get if you're there. But now to me, it just makes so much sense just to see there's actions that we do and there's emotions that we come from. And when we can learn to be in a certain vibration, another like weird word I thought before, but vibration just meaning emotional state or nervous system state that's calm or in the parasympathetic ventral state, we'll talk about more. But when you're there, you're open to receiving, and that can be through ideas, that can be through serendipities. I have some specific examples that I can tell you from my life. So I love talking about this. And I'm glad that now that I have this thing going with Sarah and I've started talking more about manifesting, it's just fun for me to talk about in addition to the like neuroscience stuff. So, all right. So here's my little presentation we are going to start looking at. And just to go over, if people are like I was about 5 years ago, like what is, let's see, I'm at the very end of it. Oh, hold on. Okay, spoiler alert, there's the end of it. I'm going to admit this person and then I'm going to stop screen sharing for one moment. I get organized. The beginning, I don't want to have to click through everything in reverse. Oh, someone else is joining. Okay, we'll pause. So you're always welcome to join in the chat and just, if you're resonating with anything or if you have any questions along the way, we might save questions towards the end, or if it makes sense, we'll just drop it. So, okay, we have a few more people. I'm just gonna, perfect timing, gonna get sharing my screen. And here's a little thing I put together for you to look at with manifesting. So a general definition of manifesting, creating the result you want. And the focus is more on receiving rather than just taking action. And most of the time in our world, we are taught to take action. And this is more of, like I said, that emotional state, the nervous system state of being more calm, parasympathetic, and more receiving than just taking action. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're not taking action, which is a lot of times what people think, is that we're just saying like, lay on the couch all day and imagine that you get $1 million and then it'll just happen. But it's really not like that. And we'll go into detail more about why. But just so you know, it doesn't mean that you're not taking action. It just means that you're taking aligned action. Okay. Oh, so take your action from a place of alignment. Okay. So again, there's a lot here, and I just put myself in the place of someone who's where I was 5 years ago. So if this feels overwhelming, I mean, on one hand, it was a lot like of different terminology, but on the other hand, it also resonated when I heard it. So hopefully that's how it is for you. But what I want to show you here on this emotion scale, and this is from David Hawkins' book, what's it called? Anyway, David Hawkins, he has a few books, and I can't remember. Oh, this one's called Letting Go, that this was in. And so this is like the vibrations of different emotions. And so if you think of shame, it's a very low, heavy feeling in your body. And then as you get more anger, there's more like energy to it. And then when you get to these calmer states, really anything above this place where it turns to like courage, even neutrality, even just being neutral is better than being in a survival state. this half, anywhere from here up, is where you'll be in that receptive state for manifesting. Now, I use this slide in my modules talking about health, because this is the rest and repair state, the nervous system state of where you're actually creating energy instead of this is taking energy, the lower half, the survival states. So if you think of fight or flight or freeze or fawn, these survival states, they're all in the lower half of this scale. And the rest and repair state, that ventral parasympathetic calm state, and the place you manifest from is up here. Okay. So there's very cool little descriptions of all of these, but as you go up the vibrational scale, things become easier. So like here, just with willingness, there's success, growth is rapid, you're overcoming inner resistance to life. And again, those lower levels, it's so much resistance, it's taking our energy, it's survival states. When we don't have that dragging us down, we're actually creating energy as we do activities too. Even going up to like, there's major transformations. If you're in more joy, and you don't have to be there all the time, but even starting to get into little times of joy, you'll find you have a notable effect on others. Your things will be effortless and have more synchronicities. So not only are you like in these emotions more often, feeling better, but when you're resourced, you're better able to help other people. Look at this piece, has great contributions to the world. And then you're also, things become easier, right? So it's just like my daughter's learning to drive. She got her permit and we went right onto the freeway. And of course she wanted to drive. And that's when I started to tell her about cruise control. And she was like, freaking out. She couldn't like figure out that like this was going to help her, because we're kind of trained to be in this survival mode all the time. In fact, we feel a little dangerous if we're not worried about things a lot of the time. So this is counterintuitive to feel safe and to trust and to receive rather than go out and work and achieve and, give at our own expense. But what's cool about this, I love thinking of it this way. When you can identify your emotions, you can identify where you are on this scale, which is not only if you're in alignment or not, but it's also your receptive mode indicator. That's a phrase that Abraham Hicks uses, your receptive mode indicator. So you know that if you are in shame, you're not very receptive at all, right? So and think about this, like if someone gives you a compliment, they can give you the nicest compliment and you can literally be like, oh, that's just not true. I don't believe you, right? If you're in shame or if you're in anger, I could hear a compliment and be like, I bet she's just saying that to, try to bug me and she doesn't even really mean it. You know what I mean? So you see through a different lens and you're not receptive to what is actually good in the world when you're in these lower vibrations. So cool. When you're in alignment though, work will not be depleting. It will be energizing. Serendipities happen and work becomes easier. So instead of just, I'm going to do like 10 posts a day, you might be really aligned to ask someone to do Instagram live with you and you get 500 new followers or whatever, right? It's just, you're not thinking of the traditional, like it's hour for hour and minute for value. You're just like, when I get aligned, things happen in an easier way. And the universe conspires to bring you what you want. I love thinking that. It's literally just out there and the universe is always trying to give it to you. We just need to be receptive. So we need to not be in those survival states. So what does this have to do with manifesting? It's not about the doing. It's not about the action. Some people take really good actions from a stressed out place. I see this all the time with health. And they get more stressed. They're on a very restrictive, quote unquote, healthy diet. And they are in so much stress about it that their digestive system is shut down from, not being in a regulated state. So it's not about the doing, it's about the feeling. And when you are in the vibration of what you want, you will attract it. That's where it becomes easy. The universe, again, conspires to give you what you want. And we know from neuroscience that you get more of what you focus on. So this is neuroplasticity. The neural networks wire and fire together. When you focus on certain things, we tell our brain that's important. There's the reticular activating system, which actually really describes manifestation to me, because the reticular activating system is this part of your brain that's designed to seek out from the environment things that back up its beliefs and ignore the rest. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing when you have beliefs like, I'm really shy, and then you go to a party, and because you believe that, you stand in the corner and you notice no one talks to you, and when they do, you get embarrassed. And you know what I mean? Like your brain, it tries to be efficient for us. And so it doesn't want to think about this could be true and this could be true. It's just too baffling for it. It just wants to validate what we already believe. And the default mode is usually, you know, survival states and fear-based. So what we want to start to do is see how this is just using our brain in a feed forward positive way on purpose. But if you're wanting something from the vibration of neediness, urgency, graspiness, you block yourself from receiving. So sometimes people are like, oh, universe needs to know what I want. Well, I desperately want to get married and have a baby before I turn 40 in 6 months, right? Like something like that has a lot of urgency wrapped up in it and a time limit, and right. That is a lot harder for you to receive than if you're like, you know, today I want to see, or like, you know, universe, I just want to see a feather. And then you're like, oh, I saw a feather today, right? So just noticing it's not just your focus, it's the emotion behind it. And when you're in flight, which is like this fix-it mode and urgency, and it's one of the survival states, when you're in any of the survival states really, but especially like what we tend to do when we see there's a gap, there's like, okay, I want to lose weight and this is the weight I am now, so I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to have this exercise routine that I do every day and a cold shower and a restrictive diet. We're not in the vibration of allowing. And what I often find is that when we're in flight like that about achieving a goal, it can very easily backfire. But when you have this kind of attitude about achieving a goal, it might look like, you know, I want to lose 5 pounds over the next month. And so I am going to really listen to my body as far as like what kinds of foods sound good with that goal in mind. You know, this is the weight I want to be in a month. And with that in mind, like maybe my body does want to move certain ways because I know my body likes to move, and I know it feels generally good when it eats healthy foods. And I know when I really restrict, I actually end up, you know, like fluctuating in weight and binging a lot. And so this is a different approach. It's very like trusting, but it becomes so much easier. I hope you can see that too. So alignment, again, back to like where we want to manifest from, is this state you could think of like satisfied, but eager for more. So that's the ultimate state you want to be in for manifesting. So again, if it's something that you are like desperately wanting and you feel just so much of that like scarcity and urgency and neediness, it's better to go broad and try to manifest like smaller things or different things, or you know, not go for like the really hard, you know, the $10 million lottery ticket where your brain has a lot of stories about. That's probably going to be hard. Okay, so I know I'm giving you like a lot of background, and I hope it all like is making sense how it relates to manifesting. But I think, again, I could just give you steps to manifesting, but unless you really understand how much the emotions are part of it, and what I love teaching about is the nervous system, and how all of this actually in nervous system terms just totally makes sense, then, you know, I like to give you that spin on it so that you actually have kind of an understanding and vocabulary about it to use it in all different types of situations and not just be like, oh, okay, well, okay, I imagined the feeling of winning the lottery and I imagined it 10 times and it didn't happen. And, okay, I guess manifesting doesn't work. So, okay, so back to alignment. This is what I find so cool. Like, I just geeked out on it. One day I just was listening to Abraham Hicks and realized like what they call alignment is exactly the same as what neuroscience and polyvagal theory calls the parasympathetic calm state or the ventral state. You can also think of it as your window of tolerance. So this is literally how they describe your window of tolerance and how you can think of alignment. It's where you're feeling safe, open and curious, and it's where you can self-regulate, soothe, you can feel and think simultaneously. It's where you're calm, settled, peaceful, trusting, you have faith, you're relaxed, and you're focused, right? You're not just like, oh, head in the clouds. You're like, right? You're mindful. You're in the present moment or present moment awareness. You're not over or under exaggerating. And it's actually where you use your prefrontal cortex the most. So it's crazy that we're not in this state more often because this is actually where we're thinking the clearest, where we have inspirations and creativities. It's restorative, this state. So your body's energy can be used for rest and repair, to digest, to reproduce, right? It's the rest and reproduce state, they call it. It's where cells regenerate, where your body heals. You actually have increased immunity, decreased inflammation, so many things when you're in this rest and repair state. At a physical level, it's like your body's able to like resource and restore and nourish rather than being depleted in survival states all the time. Okay. It's where you're playful, you're flexible, responsive, engaged, creative, intuitive, you're connected, friendly, generous. So this is actually where you can connect with other people. When you're in survival states, you can't connect with other people. So this is how you can manifest, right? If you're in this alignment and you see someone at a coffee shop, you might feel like you can connect with that person. And that person happens to be someone who knows this other person who connects you with a lot of money, right? Like for your trade and your service, whatever it is. But if you're not in a connected state, it's very hard to manifest, right? If you're like home alone and you're scared to post anything, it's very hard to manifest what you want. But when you get to alignment, that's really all you need to do. And then take the actions from there, whatever they are. And they're usually a lot less than the workhorse mode of just like go out and just plow the fields for a certain number of hours per day. So you're connected, friendly, generous, empathetic, sensing, you're receptive, open-hearted, aware of boundaries. So you still have boundaries, right? And compassionate. So that just gives you like that fuller sense of why I always talk about regulating the nervous system, how it relates to manifesting, what I mean by alignment, and like why we should be there more often and not watching news and fearing everything all the time, right? Like we want to sometimes be in this playful, calm state. So it's like restorative to our body and our life becomes easier. Okay, so I don't know if I can see the chat. Hopefully no one's put anything in. Excuse me. Okay, I want to just tell you a little bit about my story when I discovered this about 5 years ago. It was during my divorce, and it was a very, very, very stressful time money-wise, because basically we everything was tied up in the divorce, the business and making money from it. And we were paying for 2 different places. So basically my parents were just loaning me money for 2 different houses every single month. It was really hard and it took a long time. So I was very grateful that I found out about all of this stuff, a lot about life coaching, and then about The Secret, which is, a manifestation type of book, and Joe Dispenza and some of the mind body stuff I found all at the same time. And I started listening to The Secret and just listened to it on repeat as I would drive around. And I started manifesting these little checks, and they were really weird. From like 5 years ago, here's a $7 overpayment from the pediatrician's office, or like an overpayment from escrow at the end of that period. Like within a week, I think there were 3 little checks of just little amounts. But I would celebrate them, right? I was just like, okay, this doesn't usually happen, but money's kind of just out there. So when you're in the vibration of like receiving money, it starts coming to you. I would to get in an abundant mindset when I was so scarce on money, I would look for examples of feeling abundant. And I would look for pennies on the ground, literally just any kind of coins. I still do this. I love it. It like gives me so much joy to find a coin on the ground, because I took that to mean I, have this belief that that's the universe telling me that money is always coming to you. Money is easy. It's abundant. It's all around you. So I would just find money every day. And so that was how I got in the vibration of abundance, even when there was lack. Because sometimes I would just go through the drive-through and all the coins that were there, I was just like picking them up, and not because I was like, oh, this is going to help me buy something later, but because I was like, thank you, universe. Like, this shows me a little sign today that money is everywhere. It's for me. It's trying to come to me. I'm abundant. And I found different ways of getting in alignment. At that time, I had just had this natural urge to start doing yoga. So I was doing yoga. Like I said, I found Joe Dispenza. So I was meditating. I was doing feng shui in my house because I had a new apartment, like stuff, place to live with the kids. And so I was like, why not do feng shui? So I was just like doing all of these things and just really like mindful of like, being in a good vibration and that things can come to me. And I noticed a lot of serendipities. Even one time my dad was like, you are magic. I'm like, what is going on? Like, timing of things. Weird. I could tell you so many stories, but this is the greatest one, in my opinion. It was so fun. It was a time that I was doing like back with Brooke Castillo. She was doing like self-coaching scholars. There was a dare of the day. And so I was doing this whole month of doing a dare every day. And it was my performance review. And so I was like, I'm just going to ask if I can do anything to earn more money. And they were like, okay, yeah, give us some time. So they looked through how much, like they're like, okay, basically you're working 30 hours a week. And if you work 40 hours a week, you could make this much more. I was just hoping they would just like give me some money, but didn't happen that way. But it turned out I had been working 35 hours a week for like 2 years. So because of the divorce and stuff, I didn't really know how much I made. And I didn't ever notice that I had told them about 2 years before that I would go up to 35 hours a week. And they agreed, and they had a start date. I had it all in emails. And they looked at my time cards for the last 2 years, and I'd been working 35 hours a week instead of 30. So they back paid me almost, I think, around $15,000. It was maybe a little more. But it was so amazing because again, it was just one of those things of like, money is out there. Like I never even thought to ask. I'd been there 10 years and I'd had so many performance reviews, like 2 per year. And I'd never, ever, ever asked. But because I was just in this like vibration of hopefulness and willingness and like, let's just see what there is, there was this money that no one would have ever noticed that it was out there. It was ready for me. And it was just like, they actually paid it to me. So I love that story. It was right when I was deciding about coach training, and I just manifest that money, which was almost all of what I needed to pay for coach training. So it's part of my journey. Okay. So this is the point where I want to just have us go through an actual technique that we can use. But maybe actually I'm going to stop share for a minute and just check in. Maybe no one's put anything in the chat. Yeah. Y'all just listening. Okay. Are there any like comments or questions at this point, or do you want to share anything before we go to the actual technique I want to teach you? Does this all make sense? I know, Kristen, you get this. I know you're versed in this language. All of the languages, we did a training together that was about deep dive coaching, and really what it also was about is regulating your nervous system so that you can be a more intuitive, easy coach with your client and connect with your client better. Because you're regulated, you can help co-regulate them. She didn't say those exact words, but it's basically you use this principle in every area of your life, not just with health, not just with money, not just with relationships or coaching or business or whatever. If you get these principles, you can use it anywhere in your life. Okay, you guys ready? Do you want to do this exercise with me? We can do it all together. Do you have some paper, and you can actually, we'll get some time to write it down. Or if not, you can just listen. If you're driving or something, don't feel like you have to. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. So this is adapted from, oops, where'd it go? Another coach named, I don't know why that's there, Elizabeth Salazar, and she called it the daily work. And I just was like, I don't know if I want to call it work, because I just like to, I have like, obviously some connotations with work. So I was like, morning manifesting. And what I would invite you to do is for the next 7 days, just give this a try. Oh, also, I did want to let you know, once I became a coach, that's when I found this morning manifesting, or the, daily work. And it was really cool because I started doing it. And I did notice that I would set a goal for like 2 clients for, 3 months each at this price. And it wasn't that I always manifest them within a week. Usually it was like 2 to 3 weeks, but I would like kind of like I was upping my number of months and prices and stuff. And I did get clients in that order. So even if it doesn't work within a week, if you feel like, it's still worth 10 minutes of your time each day, I invite you to just notice that there could be some lag time. It's like when you plant a seed, you're not like, okay, it should be grown by now. Like, there's some lag time. So make the goal for a week, because you want to just, again, you don't want to start with something that has a lot of story and pressure to it. It could just be like something that sounds achievable to you for the next week and would be a nice goal, but that you have kind of a general good feeling about. So I'm going to give you some time to write that down or think about that. Like I said, my examples when I would do that were usually around generating clients. But it could be very easy to say, like, over the next week, I'd like to lose 3 pounds or something, or I'd like to, you just don't want something that feels too like stressful for you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And then you have reached your goal. You're going to imagine that you've reached your goal. You've created the clients, you look on the scale and you're visualizing the number. Describe in detail how you feel. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to actually describe. I feel excited. I was so happy to, see that they found me. What I thought was really cool when I do this is sometimes I'd have these ideas just doing this every day. I'd be like, so glad I thought to post there. And I'm like, oh, I think I'll post there. So describe in detail how you feel. You can use emotions. You can talk about how it feels in your body. You can talk about what you're going to do with the money you have, like any details you can give. The more descriptive, the better. We want to practice it so much that the brain just feels accepting and that that's normal and easy. You guys got that? Okay. And then the third thing, what objections or doubts does your mind have with creating your goal? So this just gives you some insight into where your primitive brain is at. No one else in my family makes more than this amount, or I'm not good at this, or I don't know where to find people. People won't pay that much. That was one. I'm like, literally, I had paid way more than that for coaching. And I'm like, people won't pay that. I'm like, brain, you don't even make sense. Think of all the things, all the old thoughts, all the things that just feel real. And it's so interesting because mine would change from day to day, but I'd have like three main ones that I'd kind of alternate between. I'd be like, no one wants a 6-month program. And then someone would sign up for a 6-month program. I'd be like, I can never find more people. I don't know where they come from. Like my brain was just like, had these things it would just offer, just like, no, 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 no. So you just want to get all those out. The last step then is to soothe your mind, answer those objections and doubts. So that's where I would say, Betsy, you have paid more than that for coaching. There are people that pay that. You know, you've already had, 5 clients who've paid that price, but your brain doesn't care. The primitive brain just keeps blocking you. So you just want to be like, brain, we got this. I don't have to know where the next client is coming from. Usually they find me somehow. If you are getting stuck too on any of those, like I was always able to find some kind of answer to those objections and doubts, but you want it to be believable. So if you have some, actual real life questions about like, not really connecting with that part of it, let me know. I could probably problem solve with the great minds we have here. But again, you want to just think of it as soothing and maybe even just noticing if in your body, if you kind of have a little more of that trust and that feeling of, calm, maybe. And that's it. So for each one, what I would do is like I would write it on a line and then I would just leave space and then I would go back to each one, every single one. And every day that I had the very same thought, because sometimes when I'd soothe my mind, I'd tell myself something different. So just making that a practice once a day, I think in the morning is best. That's when your vibration is generally highest. And usually, like I said, it takes about 10 minutes. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that is just all stuff I've been thinking about because we have this manifestation mastery thing coming up next week. So it's very spontaneous, but it's with another coach friend of mine, Sarah Yost. I don't know if you know her, but she's like so awesome, so funny. And we just had this idea. We're both Abrahamsters. We like Abraham Hicks, and they're in Denver. So we're doing this whole kind of retreat around it, a Friday night dinner, alignment exercises, Saturday morning gentle hike in nature, Saturday afternoon, Abraham Hicks live in Denver. This is next Saturday, so it's coming up very soon, but you have 7 days to practice this manifestation. If that's something you want to manifest within the next week, that could be something you practice manifesting. We're going to have an integration call with the group after. Oh, I didn't put in there like a little Facebook group for connecting and feedback, and then private coaching sessions with me and Sarah. So if that is something, if manifestation has piqued your interest and you want a real live retreat and can make that happen by next week, it's going to be amazing. And just let me know if you have more questions about that. I don't have the link right here, but you can definitely email me and let me know more about that. Just follow me. I think most of you probably already follow me on social media, but if you're on my email list or social media, I'm always talking about it. All right. What else do you want to talk about, you guys? Do you have any questions? That's really all I had for you. I thought it would take a little bit longer, but we just have more time to answer any questions if there are any. And we can always keep it brief too if no one wants to or share or whatever, right? So have any of you guys had some experience with manifesting that you want to share? Or questions? I think I explained it really well, so I'm not surprised you have no questions. I'm just kidding. Okay, well, I think that might be it then. I don't want to pressure you guys to say anything. So thank you for joining, and I'll have a replay available, and try out that morning manifestation or daily work or whatever you like to call it. And I would love to hear about what you manifest. All right. Thanks,
Sounds good.
guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good rest
Thank
of your day,
you.
your weekend, your
You
night,
too.
Peter. He's in Switzerland. All right. Take care, guys. Bye bye.